I pulled into the driveway at 6:47 p.m., the engine ticking as it cooled. The house looked the same as it always did, red brick, white trim, the porch light already on even though the sun hadn't fully set. Rachel's car was there, parked at an angle like she'd been in a hurry. I grabbed my briefcase from the passenger seat and walked up the path, my shoes crunching on the gravel. The front door was unlocked. I pushed it open and stepped inside, setting my briefcase down by the coat rack. The house smelled like vanilla, one of those plug-in air fresheners Rachel loved. I could hear the TV in the living room, some reality show with loud voices and dramatic music. "I'm home," I called out. No response. I walked through the hallway, loosening my tie. My feet were sore from standing in meetings all day. I wanted a beer, maybe some leftover pizza if there was any in the fridge. A quiet evening. That's all I wanted. Rachel was sitting on the couch, her legs tucked under her, phone in her hand. She didn't look up when I walked in. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a ponytail, and she was wearing yoga pants and an oversized sweatshirt. The TV was on, but she wasn't watching it. "Hey," I said. She glanced up. Her expression was flat, unreadable. "We need to talk." Those 4 words. Every married man knows what they mean. Nothing good ever follows them. I felt my stomach tighten, but I kept my face neutral. "Okay, what's up?" She set her phone down on the coffee table, screen side down. Her movements were deliberate, controlled. "I've been thinking about us, about our marriage." I stayed standing, my hands in my pockets. "And?" "I'm not happy, Tommy." I nodded slowly. "Okay, what do you want to do about it?" She took a breath, and for a moment I thought she might actually try to work on things. Suggest counseling, maybe. A weekend away. Something. But then she looked at me with those cold blue eyes and said, "I've been seeing someone else." The room went very still. The TV kept playing its stupid drama, people screaming at each other about something that didn't matter. I could hear the refrigerator humming in the kitchen. A car drove past outside. "How long?" I asked. My voice sounded calm, even to my own ears. "Does it matter?" "Yeah, Rachel, it matters." She shrugged. "A few months?" "A few months. While I'd been working 60-hour weeks, trying to save for the down payment on a bigger house, while I'd been planning our 10-year anniversary trip, while I'd been living my life thinking everything was fine. "Who is he?" "His name is Ben. He's a personal trainer at my gym." Of course he was. I almost laughed. It was such a cliché. The bored housewife and the 20-something gym rat with abs and an empty head. "How old is he?" 26. I was 38. Rachel was 36. This Ben kid was barely out of college. "So what do you want from me?" I asked. She leaned forward, resting her elbows on her knees. "I want you to accept it. I'm not ending things with Ben. I like what we have, but I don't want to lose what we've built here either. The house, the lifestyle. I think we can make it work if you're mature about this." I stared at her. "You want me to accept that you're sleeping with someone else? I want you to be realistic. Marriages evolve. People have different needs at different times. I still care about you, Tommy, but I need something you can't give me anymore." "And what's that?" "Excitement, passion, someone who actually wants me." That stung. I won't lie. But I didn't let it show. I just stood there, hands in my pockets, looking at this woman I'd spent 12 years with. The woman I'd proposed to on a beach in Mexico. The woman who'd cried at our wedding and promised to love me forever. "And if I don't accept it?" I asked. Her expression hardened. "Then I'm taking everything in the divorce, the house, half your retirement, half your salary. I'll make sure you're left with nothing." There it was. The threat. The ultimatum. She thought she had me cornered. Thought I'd roll over and take it because fighting would be too expensive, too exhausting. She thought I'd rather share her than lose everything. She was wrong. I nodded once. "Okay." She blinked. "Okay?" As you wish. I turned and walked out of the living room. Behind me, I heard her call out, Tommy? What does that mean? Tommy? I didn't answer. I went upstairs to our bedroom, my bedroom now, I guess, and pulled out a suitcase from the closet. I packed quickly. Clothes, toiletries, my laptop, important documents. I could hear Rachel's footsteps on the stairs coming closer. What are you doing? She asked from the doorway. Leaving. Tommy, we need to talk about this. No, we don't. You made your choice. I'm making mine. She watched me zip up the suitcase. Where are you going to go? Jake's place, then a hotel, then I'll figure it out. You're being dramatic. I picked up the suitcase and walked past her, down the stairs. She followed, her voice getting louder, more shrill. Tommy, stop. We can work this out. I didn't mean it like that. I was just being honest with you. Isn't that what you always wanted? Honesty? I grabbed my briefcase from by the door and my keys from the hook. You got your honesty. Now you get to live with the consequences. You can't just leave? I opened the door and stepped out into the cool evening air. Watch me. Tommy. I put my stuff in the car and got in. She was standing on the porch now, arms wrapped around herself. In the fading light, she looked smaller somehow. Uncertain. Good. I started the engine and backed out of the driveway. In the rearview mirror, I could see her still standing there, watching me go. I pulled out my phone at the first red light and opened my banking app. Our joint checking account showed $47,293. The savings account had another $63,871, money we'd been putting away for years. I transferred every dollar to my personal account. Then I froze the joint accounts entirely, blocking any new transactions. My finger hovered over the confirm button for just a second. Then I pressed it. The accounts were locked. Rachel couldn't touch a dime. My phone started buzzing immediately. Rachel calling. I declined it. She called again. Declined. A text came through. What did you do? I typed back. Exactly what you asked. Another call. Declined. More texts started flooding in. Tommy, answer your phone. What did you do to the accounts? I can't access anything. Tommy. I turned my phone to silent and kept driving. Jake's apartment was across town, a 20-minute drive in light traffic. I needed a place to think, to plan my next moves. Jake would understand. He'd been through a divorce 3 years ago. He knew how ugly it could get. The sun had fully set by the time I pulled into Jake's parking lot. I grabbed my stuff and headed up to the 3rd floor. Jake answered on the second knock, beer in hand, basketball game playing on the TV behind him. Tommy? What's going on, man? Rachel's been cheating on me. I need a place to crash for a few days. He stepped aside immediately. Come in. You want a beer? Yeah, I really do. I set my suitcase down by the couch and took the beer he handed me. It was cold and bitter and exactly what I needed. Jake muted the TV and sat down in his recliner. Tell me what happened. So I did. I told him everything. The conversation, the ultimatum, the kid she was sleeping with. Jake listened without interrupting, his jaw getting tighter with every detail. When I finished, he said, What are you going to do? Burn her life to the ground. He nodded slowly. You need help with that? Yeah, I do. Then let's figure this out. We stayed up until 2 a.m. that night, making plans. Jake's divorce had taught him a lot about the legal system, about loopholes and strategies, and how to protect yourself when someone you trusted tries to destroy you. He made calls to his lawyer, set up an emergency consultation for me the next morning. We went through my finances, documenting everything, every account, every asset, every investment. By the time I finally crashed on Jake's couch, I had a plan, a strategy. Rachel thought she'd played me, thought she could have her cake and eat it too, but she'd made one critical mistake. She'd underestimated me. I woke up at 6 a.m. to my phone vibrating nonstop. 17 missed calls from Rachel, 32 text messages. I scrolled through them. They started angry. You can't do this. This is illegal. I'm calling a lawyer. Then they got desperate. Tommy, please, we need to talk. I made a mistake. Can we please just talk about this? And finally, scared. I'm sorry. Please come home. I don't know what to do. I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I got up, showered, put on my suit, and got ready for my meeting with the lawyer. Jake made coffee, strong and black. You good? He asked. I'm great. You look like you're about to murder someone. Only metaphorically. He laughed. That's the spirit. The lawyer's office was downtown, in one of those tall glass buildings that screamed expensive. Her name was Patricia Chen. No, scratch that. Her name was Patricia Morrison. Jake had used her in his divorce and said she was ruthless. That's exactly what I needed. She was in her 50s, with short gray hair and sharp eyes that seemed to see right through you. Her handshake was firm. Mr. Morrison, she said, Jake's told me a bit about your situation. Let's discuss specifics. We sat in her conference room for 2 hours. I laid out everything. The affair, the ultimatum, the frozen accounts. She took notes, asked pointed questions, and by the end, she had a strategy. Here's what we're going to do, she said. First, we file for divorce immediately, citing adultery. In this state, that gives you significant leverage. Second, we document everything about her affair. Text messages if you can get them, photos, witness statements. The more evidence, the better. Third, we go after the assets aggressively. You were the primary earner, correct? Yes. I make about $185,000 a year. She makes $42,000. Good. We'll argue that you deserve the majority of marital assets since you were the primary contributor. The affair will help swing things in your favor, especially if we can prove she was using marital funds to support her relationship with this other man. Ben. His name is Ben. Ben, she repeated, writing it down. What do you know about him? Not much. He's 26, works as a personal trainer. We'll find out more. I have an investigator who can dig up information, credit history, employment records, anything that might be useful. How much is this going to cost? My retainer is $15,000. From there, we bill hourly. But given your situation, I think we can wrap this up relatively quickly, especially if she realizes she has no leverage. I pulled out my checkbook. My hand was steady as I wrote the amount. When do we start? Today. I'll file the papers this afternoon. She'll be served by tomorrow morning. Perfect. I left the office feeling something I hadn't felt in 12 hours. Control. I was taking back control of my life. My phone rang as I walked to my car. Unknown number. I answered. Hello? Is this Tommy Morrison? Yes. This is Ben. I think we need to talk. I stopped walking. How did you get my number? Rachel gave it to me. Look, man, I didn't know she was married at first. She told me she was separated. I'm not trying to cause problems. Little late for that. I know. I wanted to apologize. This whole thing is messed up. I leaned against my car. You want to apologize? Yeah. I feel terrible about this. You feel terrible. I do, man. I really do. I almost laughed. This kid had no idea what he'd walked into. No idea what was coming. Ben, I said, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to destroy Rachel's life. Legally, financially, socially. Everything she has, everything she values, I'm going to take it away from her. And you know what? You're going to help me. What? No, man, I can't. You can and you will. Because if you don't, I'm going to make sure everyone in this city knows exactly what kind of person you are. Every gym you might want to work at, every woman you might want to date. They'll all know you're the kind of guy who sleeps with married women. Your reputation will be destroyed. Is that what you want? Silence on the other end. I didn't think so, I said. I'll be in touch. I hung up before he could respond. My hands were shaking, but not from fear, from anticipation. This was going to be satisfying in ways I couldn't even imagine yet. I drove back to Jake's apartment and spent the rest of the day working on my laptop. I pulled up our phone records. I was the account holder, so I had access to everything. Rachel's call logs showed daily conversations with a number I didn't recognize. Ben's number, probably. Text messages, too, though I couldn't see the content without her phone. But I didn't need the content. The frequency was enough. Hours of calls, hundreds of texts. All while I'd been at work, thinking my marriage was fine. I made spreadsheets, documented dates, times, patterns, built a timeline of the affair. 3 months, she'd said. But the records showed contact going back 6 months. She'd lied about that too. Of course she had. My phone buzzed. Another text from Rachel. "Please, Tommy, I'm begging you. We can fix this. I love you." I deleted them without responding. Let her stew. Let her panic. She deserved every second of uncertainty. Jake came home around 6 p.m. with takeout Chinese. We ate in silence for a while, watching Sports Center with the sound low. "How'd the meeting go?" he asked. "Good. Papers will be filed tomorrow. Fast. That's the point." He nodded, chewing his lo mein. "You doing okay? For real?" I thought about it. Was I okay? My wife had cheated on me. My marriage was over. Everything I'd built for the past 12 years was crumbling, but somehow I felt better than I had in months, maybe years. "Yeah," I said. "I'm okay." "You sure? Because you've got that look." "What look?" "The look that says you're about to do something crazy." I smiled. Not crazy, calculated. That's what worries me. We finished eating, and I went back to my laptop. There was more work to do. I pulled up Rachel's social media accounts. We shared passwords for everything, another marital courtesy that was about to bite her in the ass. Her Facebook was public, full of photos of us looking happy. Her Instagram was the same. Fake smiles and fake happiness. But her messages were interesting. Private conversations with her friends, talking about Ben, gushing about him, complaining about me, saying I was boring, predictable, that I didn't excite her anymore. I took screenshots of everything, every conversation, every complaint, every lie she'd told to justify her affair. Patricia would want all of this. There was a message from 2 weeks ago to her best friend, Michelle. "I don't think Tommy has any idea. He's so wrapped up in work he doesn't notice anything. I could probably do this forever and he'd never figure it out." I stared at that message for a long time. She'd thought I was stupid, oblivious, someone she could manipulate and control forever. She was about to learn otherwise. I forwarded everything to Patricia's email, along with a note. More evidence for the case. Then I started going through our financial records more carefully. Joint credit cards showed charges at restaurants I'd never been to, hotels I'd never stayed at. She'd been using our money to wine and dine her boyfriend. Thousands of dollars over 6 months, all on cards I paid off every month. More ammunition. I made another spreadsheet, categorizing every suspicious charge. Dates, amounts, locations. Patricia could use this to argue Rachel had been misusing marital funds. It would help in the asset division. My phone rang. Rachel again. I let it go to voicemail. A minute later, a notification popped up. She'd left a message. Against my better judgment, I listened to it. "Tommy, please. I know you're angry. You have every right to be. But please, can we just talk? I made a mistake, a huge mistake. But we can fix this. We can go to counseling. We can work through it. Please don't throw away 12 years over one mistake. I love you. I know I don't deserve another chance, but I'm begging you. Please." She was crying. Actually crying. I could hear the desperation in her voice, the fear. Part of me, a small, stupid part, felt bad for her. But that part was quickly drowned out by everything else. The anger, the betrayal, the knowledge that she'd only apologized because I'd hit back. She wasn't sorry she'd cheated. She was sorry she'd gotten caught. Sorry she was losing control of the situation. I deleted the voicemail and blocked her number. If she wanted to communicate, she could do it through lawyers. Jake looked over from the recliner. "You're really going scorched earth on this, huh?" She gave me no choice. I'm not judging, I get it. Just make sure you don't do anything that'll blow back on you legally. That's what I'm paying Patricia for. He nodded and went back to watching TV. I kept working, pulling up more accounts, more records. Our mortgage was in both names, but I'd made every payment. The cars were titled jointly, but I'd paid for both. Even her car, the one she drove every day, had been a gift from me 3 years ago. Everything she had because of me. And now I was going to take it all back. Around 10 p.m., I got an email from Patricia. Papers filed. She'll be served tomorrow morning between 8:10 a.m. Be prepared for her to reach out again once she realizes how serious this is. I replied, she's already blocked. All communication goes through you now. Good. Stay strong. This is going to get ugly before it gets better. I was counting on it. I finally shut my laptop around midnight and lay down on Jake's couch. The apartment was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator and the occasional car passing outside. I stared at the ceiling, thinking about everything that had happened in the last 24 hours. This time yesterday, I'd been driving home from work, thinking about what to have for dinner, thinking my biggest problem was a difficult client at the office. Now my marriage was over, my wife was panicking, and I was plotting revenge that would destroy her life. It was amazing how quickly everything could change. But I didn't feel sad. I didn't feel lost or uncertain. I felt focused, clear. Like I'd been walking around in a fog for months and someone had finally turned on the lights. Rachel had thought she could manipulate me, control me, use me for financial security while she got her thrills with some kid who could barely pay his own rent. She'd made a mistake, a fatal one. And now she was going to pay for it in ways she couldn't even imagine yet. I closed my eyes and let sleep take me. Tomorrow was going to be a very interesting day. Before we go any further, hit the hype button, take a second to subscribe and like the video. It really helps the channel grow. And tell us in the comments, what would you do in this situation? I woke up at 7 a.m. to the smell of coffee and bacon. Jake was in the kitchen, making breakfast like it was a regular Tuesday morning. Maybe for him it was. For me, it was the day my soon-to-be ex-wife got served with divorce papers. You sleep okay? Jake asked, sliding eggs onto a plate. Better than I have in months. He raised an eyebrow but didn't comment. We ate at his small dining table, the TV on low showing the morning news. Weather, traffic, some story about a local politician caught in a scandal. The world kept turning even when your own life was imploding. My phone, the one on the table, unblocked for everyone except Rachel, stayed quiet. No desperate calls from unknown numbers, no emails begging me to reconsider. The silence was almost eerie. What time's the serving? Jake asked. Between 8 and 10. He checked his watch. So any minute now. Yeah. We finished breakfast and I cleaned up while Jake got ready for work. He managed a sporting goods store across town, had to be there by 9. I'd called in sick to my own job yesterday, told them I had a family emergency. It wasn't technically a lie. You going to be okay here alone? Jake asked, adjusting his tie in the mirror by the door. I'll be fine. Might head to the office later. Try to maintain some normalcy. Good luck with that. He left, and I was alone in the apartment. I took a shower, long and hot, letting the water beat against my neck and shoulders. My muscles were tight from sleeping on the couch, but I barely noticed. All I could think about was Rachel opening the door this morning, seeing the process server standing there with papers in hand. Her face would go white. Her hands would shake as she signed for them. She'd read through the petition, seeing words like adultery and dissolution of marriage and equitable distribution of assets in cold legal language. She'd realize I wasn't coming back, that this wasn't a bluff or a temper tantrum, that I was actually going to divorce her and take everything I could. The thought made me smile. I got dressed in jeans and a polo shirt, no need for a suit today, and was making another cup of coffee when my phone rang. Patricia's number. Tommy speaking. She's been served. The process server just confirmed it. I set my coffee down. How'd she react? According to him, she tried to refuse the papers at first, claimed there must be some mistake. When he insisted, she finally took them and slammed the door in his face. He said she looked like she'd seen a ghost. Good. Now we wait. Her lawyer will reach out to me, probably within the next day or two. They'll try to negotiate, push back on the adultery claim, argue for a more favorable asset split. Standard procedure. And what do? We hold firm. We have evidence of the affair, evidence of financial misconduct. We're in a strong position. Don't let her or her lawyer intimidate you into settling for less than you deserve. I won't. One more thing. I had my investigator start looking into Ben. Preliminary findings show he's got about $8,000 in credit card debt, rents a studio apartment for $900 a month, drives a 2015 Honda Civic. He's not exactly living large. So Rachel's affair was with a broke gym rat. Perfect. It helps our narrative. She wasn't leaving you for someone better. She was just being reckless and selfish. Judges respond well to that. We talked for a few more minutes about next steps and strategy. Then I hung up and sat in the quiet apartment drinking my coffee. My phone stayed silent for exactly 12 minutes. Then it started buzzing. Not Rachel's number, that was still blocked, but her mother's. I let it ring out. She called again, and again. On the fourth call, I answered. Hello, Susan. Tommy, what on earth is going on? Rachel just called me sobbing, saying you served her with divorce papers. This can't be real. It's real. But why? What happened? Ask your daughter. She said you just left last night without any explanation, that you froze all the accounts and now she can't even buy groceries. I laughed. Actually laughed. Is that what she told you? Yes. Tommy, I don't understand what's happening. You two seemed fine. Susan, Rachel's been having an affair with a 26-year-old personal trainer for the last 6 months. When I found out, she told me to accept it or lose everything in a divorce, so I'm calling her bluff. Silence on the other end. Then, quietly, she's having an affair? Yes. Are you sure? Maybe there's been some misunderstanding? I'm sure. I have phone records, text messages, credit card statements showing hotel rooms and dinners I never attended. There's no misunderstanding? More silence. I could hear her breathing, could imagine her sitting in her pristine living room with its white furniture and family photos on the walls. Oh, Tommy, I'm so sorry. Thank you. What can I do? Nothing. This is between me and Rachel now. She's my daughter. I have to help her. Then help her find a good lawyer. She's going to need one. I hung up before she could respond. My hands were steady as I set the phone down. No trembling, no regret, just cold, clinical satisfaction. The calls kept coming. Rachel's brother, her best friend Michelle, even her boss from work, asking if everything was okay because Rachel had called in sick. I ignored them all. Around 11, I got a text from an unknown number. This is Ben. We need to talk. I stared at it for a moment, then typed back. About what? Rachel. She's freaking out. She called me this morning crying, saying you're divorcing her and taking everything. She wants me to talk to you, convince you to back off. And why would I do that? Because this is crazy, man. People make mistakes. She still loves you. She loves my money. There's a difference. Look, I know I messed up. We both did. But destroying her life isn't the answer. I almost threw the phone across the room. This stupid kid who'd been sleeping with my wife for 6 months, was trying to lecture me about morality. Ben, I typed, let me make something very clear. Rachel made her choice. She chose you over her marriage. Now she gets to live with the consequences. And so do you. What's that supposed to mean? It means I'm not done yet. Not even close. I blocked his number too. The walls were going up around me, cutting off everyone from Rachel's life. Soon she'd have nobody to turn to, nobody to beg for help, Nobody to make me look like the bad guy. I spent the rest of the morning at Jake's apartment, working on my laptop. I pulled up Rachel's LinkedIn profile and checked her professional network. She worked as a marketing coordinator for a mid-sized firm downtown. Her boss was a woman named Elizabeth Torres, who valued professionalism and company image above everything else. I wondered how Elizabeth would feel knowing one of her employees was having an affair with a personal trainer half her age while still married. Probably not great. But I held back. That card was for later, if I needed it. Right now, the legal pressure was enough. My phone buzzed with an email. Patricia again. Rachel's lawyer just contacted me. His name is David Foster. He's pushing back hard on the adultery claim, saying we have no concrete evidence. He wants to settle quickly, 50-50 split on everything, no-fault divorce. I told him to pound sand. I replied. Good. Let's make them work for every inch. Patricia sent back a thumbs-up emoji. I smiled. I was paying her a lot of money, but she was worth every penny. Around 1 p.m., I decided to head to my office. I couldn't hide forever, and work would be a good distraction. I drove downtown, the city busy with lunch traffic. The sky was overcast, threatening rain. My office was on the 14th floor of a glass tower. I worked in financial management, helping high-net-worth clients manage their investments and retirement accounts. It was steady work, well-paying, and I was good at it. My assistant, Karen, looked up when I walked in. Tommy, are you feeling better? Yeah, much better. Thanks. Good, because Mr. Harrison has been calling all morning about his portfolio. Something about the market dip yesterday. I'll call him right now. I went into my office and closed the door. The familiar surroundings were comforting. My desk, my computer, my wall of certifications and awards. This was the life I'd built through hard work and dedication. This was what Rachel had taken for granted. I spent the afternoon on client calls, reviewing portfolios, making recommendations, normal work. It felt good to focus on something other than my imploding marriage. Around 4 p.m., Karen knocked on my door. Tommy, there's a woman here to see you. She says it's personal. My stomach tightened. What's her name? Rachel Morrison. Of course. Tell her I'm not available. She says it's urgent. She's been crying in the lobby. I closed my eyes and counted to 10. Fine, send her in. A minute later, Rachel walked through my door. She looked terrible. Her hair was messy, her eyes red and swollen, her makeup smeared. She was wearing the same yoga pants and sweatshirt from last night. Tommy, she said, her voice breaking. Please, we need to talk. I have nothing to say to you. Please. She closed the door behind her. 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. I leaned back in my chair. You've got 3. She sat down across from me, clutching a tissue in her hands. I'm so sorry. I know I hurt you. I know I made a terrible mistake. But please, we can fix this. We can go to counseling. I'll end things with Ben. We can start over. You think counseling fixes this? I don't know. Maybe. But we have to try. We've been together for 12 years, Tommy. Doesn't that mean anything to you? It meant everything to me, past tense. Don't say that. Why not? It's true. The woman I married wouldn't have cheated on me, wouldn't have used my money to pay for hotel rooms with her boyfriend, wouldn't have tried to manipulate me into accepting an open marriage so she could keep living in comfort while screwing around. She flinched. I know I messed up, but people make mistakes. You've never made a mistake? Not like this. Never like this. Tears spilled down her cheeks. What do you want from me? What can I do to make this right? I leaned forward, resting my elbows on my desk. You can't. It's over, Rachel. Sign the papers. Let me move on with my life. I can't lose you. You already did. The moment you started sleeping with Ben, you lost me. You just didn't realize it until now. She was sobbing now, her shoulders shaking. Part of me wanted to comfort her. 12 years of marriage, of loving her, of being there for her. Those instincts didn't just disappear overnight. but I forced myself to stay cold, to remember what she'd done, what she'd said to me. Accept it, or I'm taking everything in the divorce. Those words echoed in my head. Her words, her ultimatum. And now she was here begging because I'd turned the tables on her. Get out of my office, Rachel. Tommy, get out. She stood slowly, wiping her face with the tissue. I love you. I know you don't believe me, but I do. You love my money. You love the house and the lifestyle and the security. You don't love me. If you loved me, you never would have done this. She opened her mouth to respond, but I held up my hand. I'm done talking. Leave. Now. She turned and walked out, leaving the door open. I could hear her crying in the hallway, could hear Karen's concerned voice asking if she was okay. I got up and closed the door, then sat back down at my desk. My hands were shaking now, not from anger, from adrenaline. That was the first time I'd seen her since walking out, the first time I'd had to face her and hold firm, and I'd done it. I called Patricia. Rachel just showed up at my office. What did she want? To beg me to take her back, said we could go to counseling, fix things. What did you tell her? That it's over and she needs to sign the papers. Good. Don't engage with her anymore. Any contact needs to go through me. She's trying to manipulate you emotionally because the legal route isn't working. I know, but it's hard, seeing her like that. I understand. But you need to stay strong. Remember what she did to you. Remember how she treated you. I will. We hung up and I tried to focus on work again, but it was useless. I kept replaying the conversation in my head, the way she'd looked at me, the desperation in her voice. She was scared. Actually scared. Good. I left the office around 6 p.m. and drove back to Jake's apartment. He was already home, beer in hand, watching a baseball game. How was your day? He asked. Rachel showed up at my office. Seriously? Yeah, begged me to take her back. What did you say? No. He nodded approvingly. Good man. You want a beer? Yeah. We sat and watched the game in comfortable silence. My phone stayed quiet. No more calls, no more texts. Maybe Rachel was finally getting the message, or maybe she was just regrouping, planning her next move. I'd learned not to underestimate her. She was manipulative, calculating. She'd play the victim, try to turn people against me, her mother, her friends, maybe even our mutual acquaintances. She'd paint me as the cold, heartless husband who abandoned his wife over one mistake. But I had evidence, I had proof, and I had Patricia, who knew how to play this game better than Rachel ever could. The next 4 weeks were the longest of my life. Rachel's campaign against me continued in subtle ways. Anonymous reviews on my company's website claiming I was unprofessional, fake social media accounts posting about my abusive behavior, even a blog post detailing our divorce from her perspective that painted me as a monster. Patricia worked to get everything taken down, filing cease and desist orders and threatening legal action. But for every post we removed, 2 more seemed to appear. She's obsessed, Patricia said during one of our meetings. This has gone beyond trying to win the divorce. She wants to destroy you completely. Can we use this in court? We're documenting everything. It all goes into evidence showing a pattern of harassment and defamation. Meanwhile, my life was in limbo. I was still on administrative leave from work, though Richard assured me it was temporary. I was still living on Jake's couch, my stuff scattered between his apartment and a storage unit, and I was still fighting a legal battle that seemed to have no end. But I kept going, because the alternative was giving up, and I'd come too far for that. 3 weeks before trial, Patricia called with news. Rachel's lawyer wants to settle. I sat up straight. What are their terms? She'll accept a 60-40 split in your favor. You keep the house, the majority of retirement accounts. She gets her car, some savings, and $1,000 a month in temporary support for 2 years while she gets back on her feet. It was reasonable. More than reasonable. And part of me wanted to take it, to end this nightmare and move on with my life. But another part, the part that had been fighting for months, wanted to see this through to the end. What do you think? I asked. I think it's a fair offer. Better than you might get at trial, honestly. Judges can be unpredictable. And if we go to trial? We could get 70-30, maybe more. But we could also get 50-50 if the judge decides the affair doesn't warrant such a harsh penalty. It's a gamble. I thought about it for a long time. Then I said, I want to go to trial. Are you sure? I'm sure. She tried to destroy me, Patricia. She lied, manipulated, fabricated evidence. She doesn't deserve a settlement. She deserves to lose in court. Patricia was quiet for a moment. Okay, but understand, this means more time, more money, more stress, and there's no guarantee we'll get a better outcome. I understand, but I need to see this through. We declined the settlement. Rachel's lawyer wasn't happy, but there was nothing he could do. We were going to trial. 2 weeks before trial, I moved out of Jake's apartment and into a small rental across town. I couldn't keep imposing on his hospitality, and I needed my own space to prepare mentally for what was coming. The rental was a 1-bedroom apartment in an older building, nothing fancy but clean and quiet. I bought some basic furniture, a bed, a couch, a table, and chairs, bare essentials. Everything else was still in storage, waiting for the divorce to finalize so I could figure out where I'd actually live permanently. The house, our old house, was still sitting empty. I'd stopped paying the mortgage, figuring we'd sell it as part of the divorce settlement. Rachel couldn't afford the payments on her own, and I wasn't about to keep financing a place I didn't live in. 1 week before trial, Ben called me. Hey, Tommy, just wanted to give you a heads up. Rachel's been trying to contact me again, begging me to change my testimony. What did you tell her? I told her to leave me alone, but she's persistent. She even showed up at the gym where I work, made a scene in front of my boss. Did you call the police? Yeah, they told her to leave. But I'm worried she's going to do something crazy. You and me both. Look, I just wanted you to know. Watch your back. She's not stable right now. Thanks for the warning. We hung up. I sat in my empty apartment, thinking. Rachel was unraveling. All her attempts to control the situation had failed, and now she was lashing out at anyone she perceived as an enemy, which meant me, primarily. I made sure my doors were locked that night, and the next night, and every night after that. The day before trial, Patricia and I met for one final strategy session. We went over testimony, evidence, likely questions from the judge. She drilled me on staying calm, staying factual, not letting emotion cloud my responses. Remember, she said, Rachel's going to try to provoke you. She'll cry. She'll play the victim. She'll say things designed to make you angry. Don't take the bait. I won't. And one more thing. Win or lose, this ends tomorrow. Whatever the judge decides, that's it. No more fighting. No more back and forth. You accept the ruling and move forward with your life. Even if we lose? Even if we lose. Though I don't think we will. That night I couldn't sleep. I lay in my new bed in my new apartment, staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything that had led to this point. The day Rachel told me about the affair. The frozen accounts. The mediation. The false accusations. The restraining order hearing. Tomorrow it would all come to an end, one way or another. I must have dozed off around 3 a.m., because the next thing I knew, my alarm was going off at 6:30. I showered, shaved, put on my best suit, looked at myself in the mirror. I looked tired, older. The last few months had aged me, but I looked determined, and that was what mattered. I met Patricia at the courthouse at 8:45. The trial was scheduled for 9 a.m. We walked in together, our footsteps echoing in the marble hallway. Rachel was already there, sitting on a bench with David. She looked up when she saw me. Our eyes met for just a moment. I tried to read her expression, fear, anger, regret, but all I saw was emptiness. We filed into the courtroom. Judge Martinez was presiding again, not surprising since he'd handled the restraining order hearing. He reviewed the case file, then looked up at both parties. This is a dissolution of marriage proceeding. Morrison versus Morrison. Both parties are represented by counsel. We'll begin with opening statements. David went first. He painted a picture of a marriage that had grown cold, a husband who prioritized work over family, a wife who made a mistake but was trying to make amends. He acknowledged the affair but downplayed it, saying it was a symptom of deeper issues, not the cause of the divorce. Then Patricia stood. She was devastating. She laid out the timeline of Rachel's affair, not 6 months, not even a year, but 14 months based on the earliest evidence we'd found. She showed the financial records proving Rachel had spent over $30,000 on her relationship with Ben. She presented the false allegations, the spoofed messages, the pattern of harassment and manipulation. Your Honor, she concluded, this is not a case of a marriage that simply fell apart. This is a case of systematic deception, financial misconduct, and malicious behavior. My client deserves justice, and justice means holding Ms. Morrison accountable for her actions. Judge Martinez nodded slowly. We'll hear testimony now. Ms. Morrison, please take the stand. Rachel stood and walked to the witness stand. She looked small up there, vulnerable. David led her through her testimony carefully, letting her tell her version of events. I made a mistake, she said, her voice breaking. I had an affair, but I never wanted to hurt Tommy. I still love him. I felt lonely, disconnected. He was always working, never home. I needed someone to pay attention to me. And the financial expenditures? David asked. I didn't realize how much I was spending. It just happened gradually. I wasn't trying to steal from him. And the allegations of false accusations? I was scared. Tommy had frozen all our accounts, taken everything. I didn't know what to do. I made some bad decisions, but I was just trying to protect myself. It was a good story, sympathetic. The wronged wife pushed to desperate measures by a controlling husband. Then it was Patricia's turn to cross-examine. Ms. Morrison, you testified that the affair lasted a few months, but evidence shows contact with Ben dating back over a year. Were you lying then, or are you lying now? Rachel hesitated. I wasn't sure of the exact timeline. You weren't sure if you'd been having an affair for 3 months or 14 months? It started as just friendship. I didn't think of it as an affair at first. But you were staying in hotel rooms with him, using marital funds to pay for those hotels. That sounds like more than friendship. I made a mistake. You've said that several times, but mistakes are accidents. Spending $30,000 over 14 months on a secret relationship isn't an accident. It's a choice, correct? Rachel's lawyer objected, but the judge overruled it. Yes, Rachel said quietly. It was a choice. Patricia went through the rest of the evidence methodically. The false text messages, the spoofed emails, the $2,500 payment to a digital impersonation company. With each question, Rachel's story crumbled a little more. By the time Patricia sat down, Rachel was crying openly. But I couldn't tell if they were real tears or performance. Then it was my turn to testify. I walked to the stand, placed my hand on the Bible, swore to tell the truth. Sat down and looked at the judge. David tried to rattle me, asking about my work hours, my dedication to my marriage, whether I'd ever considered counseling. I answered calmly, factually. Yes, I worked long hours. I was trying to build a future for us. Yes, I would have gone to counseling if she'd asked. But she never did. Patricia's questions were straightforward. She let me tell my side, the discovery of the affair, the ultimatum, my decision to file for divorce. The way Rachel had tried to manipulate and control the situation at every turn. Did you send any threatening texts to your wife? Patricia asked. No, I blocked her number within days of leaving. Did you contact her employers to sabotage her job prospects? No, I've had no contact with anyone from her professional life. Did you harass her in any way? No. All communication has been through attorneys, as ordered by the court. We went back and forth for almost an hour. Then I was done, stepping down from the witness stand and returning to my seat. Ben was called next. He testified about Rachel's lies, about how she'd told him we were separated when we weren't, about her attempts to get him to lie to police and in court. Do you still have a relationship with Ms. Morrison? Patricia asked. No. I ended things as soon as I realized she'd been lying to both of us. And did she try to contact you after that? Yes, multiple times. She begged me to change my testimony, to say Tommy had threatened me. I refused. Thank you. No further questions.